Hello and welcome to a test match between Thomas Burt and myself. Please first note that we went one round in before we realized that the match was not being recorded, so this is actually the second move of the match. This match is to test some concepts and strategies of the new Xwing, and to see how effective certain combinations are when used together. Thomas Burt is flying his usual Han Solo with Miranda. He did win our Friday night round robin this last weekend with it, and he was gracious enough to give me a rematch with a test build that I put together with that includes two Z95s, one Poe Dameron at pilot score 9, and the highest pilot score Xwing. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but I will give you the rundown of the cards here in one moment. Okay, so the loadout for the Xwing is the pilot is Andor. His APT is Rage. He is using Sensor Jammer. He's using the title. He is using Dash Rendar as a crew, and he is also using Inspired Recruit. Poe Dameron is the typical Poe loadout with PB8, Push the Limit. He does have the cluster sensors and the title, the black one, to remove target locks. The Z95s are bare, and there is integrated Astromech on Poe Dameron. Thomas Burt has his usual loadout: homing missiles, C3PO, extra munitions, and TLT on Miranda. He does have Rey and Kanan, Push the Limit, and the old title on Han Solo. Now, if you'll notice, Andor did a 2-bank into combat and used Rage. That does give him 2 stress tokens and a focus token, and it allows him to reroll up to 3 attack dice. Thomas does a 3 straight in with Miranda. Now, he does want to try to get into position to get those homing missiles off, but he is very well aware of the black one title to remove the target lock. So he's being very strategic on how he gets that target lock onto who and in what position. It looks like the first round of firing will start now, but I think only 2 of the pilots are in range to actually do anything to each other. Oh, I'm sorry. Poe has the ability to move, and I was anticipating a target lock, so I was getting ready to boost or barrel roll around Andor to remove that target lock from his ship. Now I boost Poe Dameron into position, but I do not think he has a shot on anyone. I think the first shots here are going to come from Miranda and her TLT, but we will see. One thing I did forget early on is that Andor's pilot ability actually removes the stress from a friendly ship at the beginning of activation, and that does give Poe Dameron a lot of options. I know a lot of times people work to get the barrel roll action, green move to remove stress, and then another action. But if you're actually stuck in a situation where you cannot do that and Andor is in the vicinity to remove the stress, that is very beneficial also to line up the next movement for Poe Dameron. So it looks like Miranda will take her first shot into Andor. Now Andor does have sensor clusters, so I'm going to turn one of his hits into a focus. So that's going to give him a choice here. Do I spend the focus to get more hits on? I think he's sitting on one hit right now. Or do I save it for the next opportunity? And it looks like he leaves his focus token alone, one hit. So looks like I evade the one shot, and I sensor cluster again. And looks like he's going to spend his focus token for 2 hits. Get one evade, and I do believe I lose a shield here. Yeah. And spent his focus token, which now he does not have in return for defense, although he still does have C3PO. Fire my shot, reroll for rage, and spend my focus for 3 hits. I think Thomas takes his 1 evade and takes his 2 shields. Okay, now we are preparing for the next round. Earlier I was calling sensor jammer, sensor cluster, though I was misspeaking. The Xwing does have sensor jammer, turning hits into focuses. Now, here is part of the synergy of the Xwing that I've created. While using Rage does give me 2 stress tokens. Using the crew, the recruit, whenever I remove a stress token, I can remove an additional stress token, allowing me to Rage every round if I have the opportunity to do so. So the Z95s are 3 turning in, getting into combat, hopefully picking off a shield or 2 as they go, being annoying is the best they can, as they are designed to do at 12 points. The Xwing is 1 forward, I do believe, being a green maneuver and using my card, of course. Removing both stress tokens, and then once I complete the maneuver, I will then just rage again and take my stress tokens and my focus token. So now it is Thomas's move for Miranda. I do believe he goes 3 straight. He contemplates a slam here, which is not a bad idea considering I believe he's at range 1 of my Xwing, which would be 4 dice. Which would not be good in any situation, even if he had the ability to put any amount of dice into any of my other ships. I don't know that you want the K-Wing to take a range 1 shot from anybody. So he slams, weapons disabled. Now, I do have the initiative, so Poe does move first. I had originally planned on him maybe 1 banking in and trying to get a munition off on a ship or two. So my movement was geared to do that. But considering his positioning and my positioning, and BB-8 and the way that it works, I am actually afforded the opportunity to do some pretty slick maneuvering here and wind up at range 1 of Miranda with Poe. Now, to do that, I had to spend a lot of my actions on movement, so I only showed up at range 1 with a focus, but still, that is a pretty obnoxious thing to do to your opponent when they feel like they may have cleared your threat range. Now, at this point, Thomas is cussing at me and at the camera because he does not like the fact that he boosted, does not have a shot, and I still have my range 1 shot. But that's okay. He still has a very large Han Solo barreling in on me, quite capable of doing a lot of damage. And not just that, my shots are scattered. I like to keep all 4 ships focused on one ship, but in this particular opportunity, I could not resist the opportunity to make Thomas very, very, very angry at me. Now, Thomas has chosen to push the limit and also use Ray, and it's a very interesting use of Ray. He pushed the limit to target lock and evade, and pulled his Ray focus. So he has a lot of tokens there, getting ready to shoot my Xwing. So that's good tactic on his part. So here's my roll into the K-Wing. I think I roll 3 hits. He's going to obviously dodge one of them. So 2 hits. A lot of work for 2 shields. I'll take them. Even though he will get them back at a later date. And then Poe Dameron, or Han Solo, of course, taking the shot into my Xwing. This is me hoping. I'm going to sensor jammer 1, so this is going to force him to use that focus token, so he can't bank it again. So that is a small victory for me. Obviously, he's going to choose to use that token. Oh, and he also cannot re-roll that. That's another aspect of sensor jammers. So he pulls out 3 hits. I still have my focus token, and I roll, I guess, 2 focus tokens. So I take 1 shield, and not too bad for me. I return fire, 3 dice, and I reroll for 1. And I think I rolled 3 hits myself, so not a bad exchange for me. He does have his. Let's see what he loses. He loses 2 shields, so that's a good exchange for me. Now here's my Z95s. The obnoxious part of my build begins. These guys don't last long. They don't do much damage, but what they do well enough to win some games. So 2 hits. May or may not have evaded one. He did not. He took both shots. So next shot, coming in, range 3, he will roll an extra dice. And tokenless. He has been taking a salvo shots from many directions. The the real strength of the low pilot score Z95s. I think he rolled an evade there. Last shield. Oh no, he takes both again. So the Z95 is doing some work, putting some damage into Han Solo. And we prepare for the next round. Okay, now we're about to begin the next round. The store owner had to so nicely show that I broke his Anakin Skywalker picture. But I'd also like to point out that he placed many landmines and booby traps all over his store so that I could trip over things and break stuff in his store. But, you know. So we are contemplating the next bout of movements. It looks like my Z95s are ready for deployment. I do a one bank down and focus, anticipating his ships moving into the southern part of the board. My other Z95 is going to turn in, also hoping to catch that K-Wing in a predicament so that I can get a few shots off on it before my 95 is taken off of the table. This is the one negative to the Xwing. It does not turn around very well, and much of the shuttles MO, it does not move very agilely. However, I do drop both of my stress tokens, and I will focus up just in case I do wind up in combat. Again, knowing that Miranda is going to want to get itself into combat, he or she 2 turns in. Thomas, ever so wanting to get those munitions off, target locks my poor little 95. And me being the nice guy that I am, could not sit by and watch my Z95 get shot out of the sky by a homing missile. So I chose to barrel roll backwards. This is where I'm telling him that I am not going to allow him to shoot his missiles at me. I barrel roll backwards, use the black 1 title to remove that target lock from that Z95. At the expense of, a shot, but it's more of the principle. I do take my focus and run right into my ship. You'll see after this that I'm left with very few shots, just to prove a point, but I'm okay with that. I enjoy my opportunities to mess with Thomas in every way that I possibly can. His Han Solo will force straight, which clears, and puts himself in a very good opportunity to shoot Poe Dameron, who at this point has taken no damage. Don't let the way that the Millennium Falcon is facing mess with you. It's on a magnet, and he turned it that way so that our ships could fit better. Alright, so he will push the limit, I'm sure, to move target locks around. Probably evade and probably put his last ray banked focus onto the board for maximum damage and protection, because I am going to have the opportunity to shoot back at him. I'm going to take my range 1 shot at Poe, or at Han Solo. I believe, I don't have a target lock here, but I believe I roll a lot of focuses on this one, which I am not willing to spend my focus. So I just Poe 1 for 2 hits. I believe he rolled an evade and has an evade token, so takes no damage. He returns fire. 4 dice. He does have his target lock, and he does have his focus. So he will walk out of this one with 4 hits. And that is exactly why I chose not to spend that focus token on offense. I think I roll an evade and a blank, and I use my sensor clusters to turn it into another evade, taking two shields. He is going to TLT me, I believe, with Miranda. 2 with 1 hit to get 1 shield back. And I roll 1 evade. I am not afraid of your little TLTs. He rerolls, and I believe they are all focuses, so no damage for me. Z95 shoot. Let's see what they roll here. I believe they roll 2 hits with my focus. And he takes 1. There goes his shield he just got back. And I take a shot at Han Solo. And I think I roll a crit, but I don't think it goes through. I think he rolls an evade. He is the greatest 1 green dice roller of all time. Okay, we are entering into the next round. I am in a good position. While I still have all 4 of my ships, I have done a significant amount of damage to Thomas's ships. Now with Z95s, that can change very quickly, but that's kind of the point of the Z95. If they're there and they're doing damage and they're taking damage, then they are doing great things for your aces. Once they are gone, then the game is afoot. Hopefully at that point you have allowed your aces to be put in position to win the match for you. So my Z95s are still there, still fully healthy. Andor, he's gonna roll right over that rock for me, trying to get into a better position. Again, no K turns. I could do the stop, but that reduces my agility by 1, and I was not in a position to take that risk, considering how many shots were coming from Han Solo onto that ship. Miranda's gonna 3 straight. I do not believe she slams, but she might. I think she stays right there and prepares herself for a range 1 shot. Let's see. Poe Dameron. I do not have a lot of good options here. I barrel rolled out. I took my focus. I turned in. And I could have turned in again to make sure I had a shot on Han Solo, but I chose to take the target lock instead. Now, in hindsight, that was probably a bad move on my part. However, I thought if the chase, if it turned into a chase, I would have been okay with that. Another thing that I forgot about, again, that I didn't realize until a lot later on, is that Andor's pilot ability at the beginning of activation phase removes stress tokens. So I should not have been so afraid of pushing the limit instead of using that barrel roll to reposition myself. I should have just done moves, boosted, taken the focus token to be in better positions. But again, lessons learned. This is only the second time I've ever flown with the pilot. So here I took the target lock, and I really should have boosted, because if I would have had another shot on Han Solo. I think Han Solo 2 turns here out of everybody's arc, and this gives him the ability to kind of rock my Z95s. I would like to point out that Thomas has some very cool stress tokens that he won. They are Team Covenant, and they're part of the prize package from last Friday's round robin of death that he turned out to be our winner. Lots of cool swag. There goes, I blanked out on a 4-shot hit to my Z95. Blanks do happen, and they happen often on Z95s, but that is not a Poe Dameron, and that is not a Xwing, so I will live with that. So I believe there is a TLT shot coming here at Poe Dameron, and I am not going to let him hit me with a TLT shot. Oh no, he reduced his shot at the Z95, and he missed. Take my shot from the U-boat. I believe I rolled 2 hits, and I believe he rolled an evade and had an evade, and walked out unscathed. Range 1 from the 95. Not that it helps me. I believe I rolled 2 blanks and a crit, and of course he just guessed 0 and walked away from that unscathed. We're checking here. This is kind of an unfortunate situation where the nub was in the way, and I think if the nub wasn't in the way, it would be a very clear range 1 shot. But he took a range 1 shot at me in return, so So 3 dice, 2 blinks and a crit. He'll C3PO into nothing and not take anything. So next round. Okay, here I think that I'm going to be clever and I'm going to block Han Solo from doing a 1 bank or a 2 bank. I think I just stick him right there in the middle to get blown up, but again, that's okay. The Xwing's gonna 2-turn in. He will not bump and he will rage, giving him a ample opportunity to put some damage into the Millennium Falcon. I believe Miranda 3 banks up, and maybe even slams. Maybe not, we'll see. I know she's trying to reposition. I know she desperately wants to get those munitions off. And I think he knows in the back of his mind that that's never going to happen as long as Poe is alive. Yeah, this is more of me trying to play this barrel roll business when I should just be turning and dealing with the stress with the palatability of my Xwing. But for you guys watching, you guys will most definitely be able to take advantage of that. This next turn, you'll see that I'll actually start doing that. I'll actually I'll stop messing around with the green moves, and I'll just start moving and stressing, and it puts me in way better positions for combat. This is round 2 of my Z95 getting blasted off the board. But again, better that Z95 than any other ship that I may have. Let's see what kind of damage my Xwing can do to Han Solo. I'm not quite sure what tokens he has left on the board, but I do have rage going, so I roll 3 hits. I think he blinks out, has his evade token, takes 2. I'm not sure if any of those are crits. Oh, one's a crit. Stress token. That actually helps me out a lot. Now, this next turn, Thomas is going to try to outsmart himself here, and actually winds up losing the game. I'm going to stop it here. I'm going to fast forward a little bit, and I'll show you exactly what happens. But the game pretty much ends after this next move. Okay, so I banked up thinking that he's going to 1 turn to the left, knowing that if he turns to the right, his next turn is going to be off the board. Maybe it was a long game for him. Maybe he was out trying to outthink himself. But Thomas chose to 1 turn to the right, which turns out to be a very, very terrible thing for him, especially considering he is double stressed. He does the turn. He does get the shot. I mean, quite obviously, I don't have any shots on him. So he does get at least 1 free shot before he flies himself off the board, but I don't think he does any damage with it. Yeah. If only there were a 180 turn, Thomas might still be in this fight. which is too bad because that was going to be a good combat between those 4 ships, but Thomas contemplates what the better shot would have been, and I think he winds up choosing my Xwing, which I don't think was the best choice for him because it has the sensor jammer on it. A sensor jammer is hit, and he Han Solos his other 2. He rolls 1 hit, and I evade it. So on to the rest of the combat, but his next turn he will fly off the board. Okay, so my Xwing will 2 bank towards the K-Wing, and I will rage. His K-Wing, I do believe, 2 turns into my Xwing. I think I would have slammed, and he might have actually slammed. I'm not 100% sure about that. But anticipating something like that, well, let's see what he does here. Oh no, he just focuses. Here again, instead of playing around with my barrel rolls, I just started flying Poe, using push the limit, remembering that I can't drop that. I just have him in arc, so I will be able to drop that stress at the beginning of activation. So I don't lose my ability with Poe. So I target lock, focus. We remove Han Solo off of the board, and we'll miss him. I won't miss him, but Thomas will miss him. Alright, and into combat. I'll roll my 3 dice into Miranda. Miranda will have 2 dice, of course, in return. Let's see what I roll here. I don't think I roll very well. I don't know that I rolled 3 hits out of that, but yeah, I think I rolled 2. I chose not to spend my focus, keeping it for defense in case he TLTs me. So, took a shield. Hopefully, he'll get 1 back on this shot. I think he does go after Poe also, which, you know, might as well, right? 1. He rolls 2. Okay, well, let's see if I can evade those. And I do. Here comes his 3rd shot. And there's 2. And it looks like I avoid them. And then Thomas curses me for playing him again. 3 dice. 3 hits with my focus. He probably rolled an evade. He seems to like to do those things with 1 dice. So he has 1 card. Okay. So next round. Okay. So next round. And in case you guys haven't noticed, my 2-year-old has been playing with my mother in the background this entire time. I apologize for that if that bothers you, but if it does, you are a heartless human being. Just kidding. So, I won bank in, drop my stress, and I know I'm not going to be able to do anything here, so I just go ahead and focus. I believe I get him to crash into me here, which is a good thing for me. I made a mistake here. I forgot to remove that stress at the beginning of activation. He does allow me to do that. Obviously we are practicing, and this is only the first time I've played this stupid list, but yes, Thomas was kind enough to allow me to remove that stress token, even though that should have happened at the beginning of activation. Friendly game. Should need to remember that in competition, though. So I reveal my green maneuver. I'm going to barrel roll here. I will take my focus. I will one bank in, and I will target lock. And my daughter will be very excited that I'm about to blow Thomas up. I'm not quite sure what we're talking about here. Target locked on him. And we will shoot at each other. This is another situation where I target lock and I start rolling lots of focus results, which is very obnoxious. So obviously I need my focus for defense. So he rolls his one. I think he guessed one, and so he got one, and so he took no damage. I think that's how that worked out, which, to hell with him, that never happens. Gets his shield back, rolls 2 dice. One hit. I dodge it, obviously. 3 dice. I laugh at his 3 dice and dodge it. Okay, we are about to enter the last phase of the game, and this is a very funny part of the game. Obviously, I have the game won as long as things don't go obnoxiously crazy for me. I moved out there. I thought about flipping my card upside down so I could all stop and turn around, but I figured, what the heck, I would just float him around into space and see what Poe could do to him. And if he killed Poe, I'd just bring him back in and kill him with my Xwing afterwards. So, here comes Miranda. Going to bank in. Maybe put Chase back onto the Xwing. Take some points off of it. I think the Xwing might still have a shield left. I'm not 100% sure. But this is kind of funny here. So let me see what I do here. I get into range 1, but I do it without a target lock. So I one bank in. I choose not to do the target or a barrel roll. That would have put me too far away. I push forward. And I push the limit, and I take my focus token. Everyone's standing around. There's five hit points on the table, and everyone's standing around. Well, you're never going to one-shot him. And I tell them, well, only in everybody else's world but Thomas's world, that's probably true. But this is Thomas. And in Thomas's world, when I have no target lock, I get to one-shot him with 4 dice, even though he has 5 hit points. So, here's how it goes. Roll my dice. I get a crit, a hit, and 2 focuses. Instead of playing defensive, I spend my focus token, and I leave out there 3 hits and a crit. The only thing... he guesses 1, which he did not get, so he got no evades. The only thing that could kill him here is a direct hit, and it's a direct hit. Yep, I'm going to take that off of the feed.